So I love character design. I hate cars. I mean, like, cars, not... I mean, I wouldn't exactly buy the Crocs, though. I should clarify. Cars are fine. Where I live, things are, like, designed around them instead of being able to walk places, which isn't ideal. But I also grew up working on race cars, which most people would be like, whoa, what? And by age 7, I was essentially already desensitized to them. But am I wrong? Am I wrong? Society tells me that I should like cars because, you know, I look like this. And yet your Lambos, your ultra sleek cars, your bank breakers, they kind of don't do it for me. What I do love is knowledge. But saying that I hate cars is probably unfair. I think I just have like an over-familiarity with a particular breed of them. Because there's quite a few vehicles that are rather nice. And in the realm of character design and visual storytelling, vehicles play a pretty big role. In fact, a lot of the things we talk about with character design translate to vehicle design rather well. Alright, that's enough. And as it happens, I actually need to design a particular vehicle for reasons. It's not for Stormfellers, because I get to decide that there are no cars in that world. So let's skim what we can from those doing a great job with vehicles already. Alright, so outside of animation or fiction, when it comes to car design, a lot of it is practical. Formula One cars are trying to be as aerodynamic and controlled as they can be at high speeds. And a lot of it too, another reason why I just don't gel with the guys catcalling a Lamborghini, is that there's a lot of appeal designed into vehicles, often free-flowing continuous curves that are often anthropomorphized as feminine. This can look interesting, and in many instances we can reasonably call these the optimal, or most highly prized principles of design, at least in the sports car market. It's the most desired and most highly priced, so for a lack of a better term, we'll call it perfection. And that is going to be important later on. Most other vehicles, however, whether they be 4-wheeled, 3-wheeled, 18-wheeled, serve some kind of function besides transport two people as fast and flashy as possible. Whether it's hauling, digging, rooting, shooting, lifting, dropping, most of these vehicles start out designed around their function. Subjectively, to me, this is where they start to get interesting. Characters, like vehicles, are designed for a purpose, and if every vehicle was a sports car, that'd be like a cast of characters that was exclusively attractive women. So basically, insert popular video game here. I don't have a dog in the fight. I think vehicles work best as an extension of both the character design and world building of a story. A fantastic example of some beautiful non-car vehicles are from the movie Treasure Planet. You've got your large, majestic, solar-sailing pirate ships, elegant shapes, and the genuine novelty of taking water vessels into space. You've got these really cool skiff lifeboats that the characters escape the ship in. What I appreciate about these is that both visuals and audio are serving this clunking iron and brass machinery that's not necessarily steampunk, but still grounded along with its future tech. And of course, you've got the piecemeal solar surfer of Jim, the main character. A perfect summation of someone cobbling together what they can find to express their desire for freedom. Then you've got a category of vehicle designs that I guess you could call adapted designs. They're essentially vehicles or cars like we're familiar with, but given the aesthetic treatment of the world they're in. I'm thinking like the cars in Zootopia or Monsters, Inc., with some stylized animal ergonomics or superficially monstrous features. A lot of these are often just squashed or stretched proportions of regular cars, which is a decent way to approach vehicle design, especially in a stylized environment. A perfect example of how vehicle can enhance and reflect story is in the variety of Batmobiles depending on the story. There's the sleek, exaggerated Keaton Batmobile that reflects a slick and stone-cold Batman. There's the iconic Tumbler in the Bale Nolan films that's both grounded in an element of the realism they're striving for, but also distinctly modern and novel. And of course, the Reeves-Pattinson Batmobile reflects a younger, newer Batman set in a world that's going for this sort of timeless, gothic, always raining old school feel. And a modified muscle car just seems like the right choice for that. Swap any of these Batmobiles out for any of the others, and they're immediately out of place, not just canonically, but aesthetically. You know who's been adding character to vehicles for a long time now? None other than Hot Wheels themselves. Not only are they creating highly personified vehicles and sometimes cartoonish gags, I even fondly remember the Hot Wheels World Race and Acceleracers series from when I was a kid that first imbued story into their existing vehicles, and then later created new vehicles and designs whole cloth from 4 unique factions. I can't believe I'm one of like probably 3 people talking about acceleracers in 2022. Did you know it ended on a cliffhanger with no closure? What was his dad doing? But if you thought the Batmobile was a cliche example to bring up in my fictional vehicles video, why is it that Ghibli food looks so good? Oops. Oh, I pressed the wrong engagement button. If I'm so indifferent to cars, why is it that I like Ghibli vehicles so much? You've got As the Wind Rises' fantastical planes, you've got Lupin's little yellow car, you even have Lisa's regular-looking pink sedan from Ponyo. They're all really cool, and I think beyond the obvious squat proportions, there's quite a few sensibilities at play. Remember when I said that sports cars are quote-unquote perfect? Well, in character design, perfect characters usually end up being boring or even unlikable characters. Sure, a reliable car might be the objectively best thing to have in real life, but it's way more interesting and compelling to hear the Millennium Falcon, noted piece of junk, wheeze and rattle as the hyperdrive fails mid-chase in The Empire Strikes Back. Huh? Oh, come on. A vehicle just driven off the dealer's lot is perfect. A rusty, paint-chipped one isn't. One that's struggling and backfiring isn't. Those imperfections are giving a vehicle character. It would probably have some stories to tell if it could. Vehicles in a Miyazaki film are likely reflecting the director's worldview in their own way, either because of period accuracy or simply a desire to celebrate humble countryside vehicles like the kind a farmer would drive, or a motorcycle and sidecar with plenty of personality. The kind of vehicles you might expect from a pro-environmental, anti-industrial worldview. A Vespa or a tiny European car are not only the set dressing for some picturesque places, but they have some interesting shapes and appeal, at least from my perspective. By the way, everything that I'm saying about the kind of vehicles that I like might be the complete opposite of the kind that you like, but I think the principles still hold up. This is an extension of character design, just the same as hair, clothing, and props. They're telling you something about their owner. I mean, do you expect the little construction bulldog from Paw Patrol to get in the fire truck? Of course not. I'm very out of my depth with that one, I apologize. With what we've talked about in mind, let's try and practically design a vehicle. One I have a specific purpose for in mind. One that belongs to a very particular kind of character. It belongs to the little cartoon me. Beyond the subjective preferences for what I like in a vehicle, there are some story reasons for why this vehicle will look the way that it does. It needs to be a bit of an underdog, and it also needs a set of retractable wings. Vehicle design is a perfect place to practice our perspective. Even with rounded edges and corners, we're usually dealing with boxes that we can arrange in perspective, bevel the edges of, and fill in our details from there. Vehicles are also usually going to have an element of symmetry to them, which cuts some of our design work in half with the right tools. It's also a great opportunity to work in 3D, as along with that symmetry, most vehicles are going to be built with solid, hard surface objects. Here I'm taking just under a couple of hours to block this vehicle out in Blender, and even with some of my main 3D clients, I'm very rarely working on vehicles like this. It's mainly blocks that you can cut into to make smaller details, and subdivision makes it so that these solid blocks get rounded, depending on how much you adjust it. Even though this is a quick 3D sketch, I at least initially wanted every piece to be separate and fleshed out. I think depending on style, that's going to be the thing that grounds the look of these vehicles. Not just a line drawn for the door, but the door being its own separate piece, and things like that. While the wings were supposed to pop out in the initial sketch, I liked the idea instead of these panels flipping down so that the wings could pop out from underneath them. Having those panels still there underneath the body of the vehicle felt like a really cool addition. I've got to say, most of the models that I've been making for clients lately have been fairly low poly and hand painted to add back the resolution, so being able to just use as many polygons as I wanted here without worrying was pretty nice. After modeling, you'll see me doing what probably looks like me turning all the white parts black. This is UV mapping. Even doing it the quick way that I did is pretty tedious, but it makes it so that I can hand paint some details onto the car, like rust, little specks of chipped paint, and even just accentuating the highlights. I have to say, through this process, I felt myself pulling on what I remember from working on cars for so long, and re-examining the vehicles that I like made me really appreciate them on a deeper level. Maybe I don't like sports cars, but do I like cars? With my model, this is just the first few steps. Now I can refine some of those rough edges, add some rigging for the wings so that they can pop out, and oh, shoot, it is time to post the video. Hey, lots of new uploads coming in the next few weeks. Some big exciting things. The first video in the Making of Stormfeller's series, and a really cool announcement. I'm at Lightbox Expo in 2 weeks, and I'll have some limited edition prints there. And you can see my course and Patreon up on screen right now. There's a Kusa hard enamel pin coming in October's backpack. Write a comment down below about your favorite vehicle designs or something. Thank you for watching, and have fun rolling around at the speed of sound in the vehicles you design. Okay, bye.